it's interesting to hear from the current commissioner now that this is not being investigated as an act of terrorism. What does that tell you?
Well, there's no indication that it's an act of terrorism. If, in fact, there were other indicators, the Joint Terrorism Task Force would be involved. But they are on the scene, and they're monitoring it. The Terrorism Task Force is essentially an FBI-centered organization, has NYPD police officers assigned, and officers from other law enforcement agencies. So right now, and as it should be, the NYPD is in charge of this investigation.
When it comes to the initial chaos in a situation like this, Commissioner, what are the first questions you need to answer before you can start holding a briefing like we just heard?
Well, you have to gather people with relevant information. You have to have people who interviewed witnesses come and brief you any sort of forensic evidence that may have been recovered. I'm told in this instance there were bullet casings, which indicates that the individual used a semi-automatic weapon.
Okay.
And then further investigation will look and see if this type of gun was used previously. The police commissioner mentioned that this individual opened gas canisters. Well, they're not easy to obtain. Who sells these gas canisters? Is there any other crimes that happen using gas canisters? That sort of thing. But the commissioner put out the basic information. It's something that we knew. Obviously, the investigation has a ways to go. I believe that the hotline, the 1-800-577-TIPS number, will be very significant in this case because we don't know how the individual left. Did he get on another train or did he go up to the street level? So witnesses, people who observe these sorts of things, hopefully are calling in and giving any piece of information that can be used to identify this individual.
We got a brief description, Commissioner, but we don't know anything about the motive. We don't know much more about this individual other than what you just mentioned. They mentioned a construction type of vest that he was wearing. Some people thought it looked like an MTA uniform, but there's a manhunt underway right now in New York. What are police doing behind the scenes to find him?
Well, again, we're looking at previous cases, what they know about individuals who may have done something like this. They're listening to the tips. There'll undoubtedly be tips coming in. Many of them are not accurate. Many of them are not useful, but some of them will be. So they're taking those tips. They're carrying through. They're calling back the tipsters. That sort of thing. They're doing a canvass of the immediate area to see if anybody, say, in the surrounding buildings may have seen this individual escape or perhaps running. Those sorts of things are ongoing.
I know one of the most valuable tools in an investigation like this is surveillance video. Should we assume at this point New York police have gathered recorded videos from all of the neighboring businesses?
Well, I think they're attempting to do that. Not every subway station, I'm told, had its cameras, own cameras. But of course, you're looking, as you said, at surrounding businesses to get any indication of somebody passing, perhaps even several blocks away. You might want to get, go along a proposed route that somebody may have seen him escape on. So, yes, video is so important these days in cases, but it takes a while to gather it. But yeah, I can assure you that process is ongoing now.
When Commissioner Sewell was appointed, some police officials expressed concern that she didn't have deep enough experience when it came to counterterrorism. Did you share those concerns, Commissioner?
No, the NYPD has, I think, the best counterterrorism bureau in the country. Some people say in the world. We brought in a lot of expertise from the federal government. We have people assigned overseas, or they still have people assigned to overseas as a listening post or tripwires. I think there's a lot of experience there and the depth of knowledge and information that will be very helpful in doing terrorism investigations. But again, there's no indication that this is a terrorist event at this time.
This is a tough job, as you know, for police, for investigators here. If this, in fact, was a random act with no real motive, if this was someone acting as a lone wolf, if that's the case, Commissioner. Does that give you a bit more calm when it comes to the crime story in New York? The first thing a lot of people ran to was the fact that crime has been a major problem in this city, and it's something that this new mayor is trying to deal with.
Yeah, well, there's no indication that this type of act is linked to the increase in crime and robberies, grand larceny autos. The crime has gone up significantly. Unfortunately, it's up 44%. So far this year. There's nothing at this time to link this incident with the sort of index crime rise that we've seen in the last 3 months.
Understood. If you were running the department today, Commissioner, what's the most important question you'd be trying to answer right now?
Well, obviously, do we have any information at all, any experience data that might indicate who we're looking for here? You're going to comb through the records. You want to talk to your informants. You want to, as I say, work that tip line to get any indicator pointing in some direction that may be helpful to bring this individual into custody.